Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, February 3rd, 2026, and we need to talk about what's developing across the northern half of the United Kingdom right now, because the Met Office has issued multiple weather warnings that are going to impact millions of people over the next 48 hours. We're looking at a significant winter weather event that's already begun across Scotland and is spreading into northern England as we speak, bringing heavy snow accumulations, dangerous ice formations, and some of the coldest temperatures we've seen so far this winter season. The Met Office currently has yellow warnings in effect across much of Scotland and northern England. But here's what's concerning forecasters this morning. There's increasing confidence that we could see these upgraded to amber warnings for certain areas. Yes, particularly across the Scottish Highlands, the Central Belt, and portions of Northumberland and Cumbria, where snow accumulations could reach 15 to 25 centimetres in the heaviest bands, with localised amounts potentially exceeding 30 centimetres over higher terrain above 300 metres elevation. Let me break down exactly what's happening meteorologically, because understanding the setup here is crucial to understanding why this system is going to be so impactful. We've got a deep area of low pressure that's currently positioned to the northwest of Scotland, and it's pulling down this bitterly cold Arctic air mass from the north, while simultaneously drawing moisture in from the North Atlantic. That combination, the cold air meeting the moisture, is creating the perfect environment for heavy, but persistent snow across a wide swath of Scotland and northern England. The snow began falling across the Western Isles and the Northwest Highlands early this morning around 3 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, and it's been steadily intensifying and spreading eastward and southward throughout the morning hours. As of 9 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, we're seeing moderate to heavy snow already affecting Inverness, Fort William and Aberdeen, with visibility dropping below 100 metres in the heaviest bands and road conditions deteriorating rapidly. Now let's get specific about the geographic breakdown here, because where you are determines what you're going to experience over the next 2 days. Starting in Scotland, the Western Isles are already dealing with 8 to 12 centimetres of snow accumulation since the early morning hours. And that's going to continue through the day today, with another 5 to 10 centimetres expected before we see any break in the precipitation this evening. The Northwest Highlands, including areas around Ullapool and up toward Cape Wrath, you're looking at the most significant accumulations. 15 to 20 centimetres is likely through today, with the potential for 25 to 30 centimetres over the highest peaks and most exposed ridges. The Central Belt, and this includes Glasgow, Edinburgh, Stirling and Perth, you're going to see snow developing through the late morning and into the afternoon hours, becoming heavy at times, and we're forecasting 10 to 15 centimetres of accumulation through tonight, with the heaviest snow expected between 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. GMT today. The northeast, including Aberdeen and Dundee, you started seeing snow around 7 a.m. this morning, and it's going to persist throughout the day and into tonight, with similar accumulation potential, 10 to 15 centimetres, maybe a bit more in the higher elevations west of Aberdeen. Moving into northern England, and this is where the forecast gets a bit more complex, because we're dealing with elevation-dependent snowfall rates, and the potential for a rain-snow mix at lower elevations, particularly near the coast. Northumberland and northern County Durham, you're going to see snow overspread the area from north to south between noon and 4 p.m. GMT this afternoon. And initially at lower elevations below 100 metres, we might see some sleet or even rain mixing in. But as temperatures continue to drop through the afternoon and evening, and they are going to drop significantly with temperatures falling to -2 to -4 Celsius by evening, everything transitions to snow, and we're looking at accumulations of 8 to 12 centimetres across the region, with 15 to 20 centimetres, quite possible, across the higher terrain of the Cheviots and the North Pennines. Cumbria, particularly the Lake District, and areas around Penrith and Kendal, you're in line for significant snow as well, with the system arriving later this afternoon, around 4 to 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. But once it arrives, snowfall rates could be quite intense, with 2 to 3 centimetres per hour possible during the heaviest bursts. And total accumulations through Tuesday morning could reach 12 to 18 centimetres at valley level, with 20 to 30 centimetres above 400 metres elevation. The timeline on this is critical because we're not dealing with a quick-moving system that drops snow and moves out. This is going to be a prolonged event with multiple waves of precipitation. Today, Monday, through this evening, we see the initial band of heavy snow affect Scotland and begin pushing into northern England. Tonight into early Tuesday morning, we get a brief lull in many areas as the primary low-pressure system shifts position. But then, and this is important, A secondary wave of snow develops Tuesday morning, and that secondary wave could actually be more intense than what we're seeing today across parts of northern England, particularly from the Scottish borders southward through Northumberland and into northern Yorkshire. That secondary wave arrives Tuesday morning between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. GMT and persists through Tuesday afternoon, bringing another round of 5 to 10 centimetres of accumulation on top of what falls today. We finally start to see the system pull away Tuesday evening with snow tapering from west to east between 6 p.m. and midnight Tuesday night. But here's where things get even more complicated and more dangerous: the ice situation. As snow begins to taper Tuesday evening and into Tuesday night, we're not done with hazardous conditions, not by a long shot. Temperatures Tuesday night are going to plummet with widespread lows of -5 to -8 Celsius across Scotland and -3 to -6 Celsius across northern England. And with any melting that occurs during the day, Tuesday, despite the cold temperatures, we're looking at significant ice formation Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Any untreated surfaces, any areas where snow has been partially cleared but moisture remains, that's all going to freeze solid, creating extremely hazardous walking and driving conditions. The Met Office is already indicating that ice warnings will likely remain in effect through Wednesday morning across the entire affected region, and some areas could see ice warnings persist into Wednesday afternoon, particularly in shaded areas and locations where snow cover prevents any melting. Let's talk about the wind situation, because that's going to exacerbate conditions significantly, particularly across Scotland. Current wind observations have sustained winds of 40 to 55 kilometres per hour across the Western Isles and Northern Highlands, with gusts to 75 kilometres per hour at exposed coastal locations and over the highest summits. These winds are going to continue through today and tonight with little diminishment, and what that means is significant blowing and drifting snow, particularly in open country and across higher elevation areas. Visibility is going to be severely reduced. We're talking whiteout conditions at times, with visibility dropping below 50 metres in the heaviest snow combined with the strongest winds. If you're travelling across any of the higher elevation routes in Scotland today or tonight, you need to seriously reconsider those plans, because conditions are going to be treacherous, with snow-covered roads, poor visibility, and significant drifting that can make roads impassable very quickly. Transportation impacts are already beginning, and they're going to intensify significantly through today and tomorrow. Network Rail Scotland has already announced speed restrictions on multiple rail lines across the Central Belt and the Highlands, with delays expected on services between Glasgow and Edinburgh, Edinburgh and Aberdeen, and Glasgow and Inverness. Several Highland routes may see suspensions if conditions deteriorate as expected. ScotRail is advising passengers to check before travelling and to expect significant disruptions through Tuesday. On the roads, Traffic Scotland is reporting difficult driving conditions already on the A9 north of Perth, the A82 through Glencoe and along Loch Lomond, and the A96 between Aberdeen and Inverness. The A93 through Glenshee is already impassable in places with snow gates closed, and we're likely to see additional road closures today and tomorrow, particularly on higher elevation routes. Gritting operations are ongoing, but they're struggling to keep up with the rate of snowfall in the hardest hit areas. In northern England, major routes including the A1 through Northumberland, the A66 across the Pennines, and the A69 between Carlisle and Newcastle are all going to see increasingly difficult conditions this afternoon and evening, with the potential for closures overnight tonight into Tuesday morning if snowfall rates are as intense as forecast models are suggesting. Airport operations are already being impacted, with delays reported at Edinburgh, Glasgow and Aberdeen this morning. And both Edinburgh and Glasgow airports have activated their winter weather protocols with de-icing operations underway. If you're flying out of any Scottish airport today or tomorrow, build in extra time and monitor your flight status closely, because delays and cancellations are increasingly likely as the day progresses. Newcastle International Airport is preparing for snow later today, with additional ground crews being brought in for snow clearing and de-icing operations. Now let's talk about what this means for you personally, because this is about more than just weather statistics and warning levels. This is about keeping you and your family safe over the next 48 hours. If you're in the warned areas across Scotland and northern England, the advice from the Met Office and from emergency services is clear. Avoid unnecessary travel during the heaviest snow periods, which is this afternoon through tonight for most areas, and then again Tuesday morning through Tuesday afternoon. If you absolutely must travel, and I mean if it's genuinely essential, Prepare your vehicle properly. That means a full tank of fuel, an emergency kit with blankets, food, water, a fully charged mobile phone, and a shovel if you have one. Clear all snow and ice from your vehicle before setting out. All windows, all lights, your registration plates, your roof. Because snow flying off your vehicle is dangerous to other drivers, and it's actually an offence under the highway code. Drive to the conditions, which means reducing your speed significantly, always increasing following distances to at least 10 seconds behind the vehicle ahead, and using gentle inputs on the accelerator, brake, and steering. Black ice is going to be a major hazard Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, so be especially cautious on bridges, overpasses, and shaded sections of road where ice forms first and melts last. For those of you on foot, ice is going to be your primary hazard Tuesday night through Wednesday. Wear appropriate footwear with good grip, take smaller steps, and walk deliberately, particularly on untreated surfaces. The elderly and those with mobility issues should seriously consider staying home Wednesday morning, if at all possible, because the ice risk is going to be significant. If you're responsible for elderly relatives or vulnerable neighbours in the affected areas, now's the time to check in on them. Make sure they have adequate heating, food, and medication, and that they're prepared to stay indoors during the worst of the conditions. Property owners, particularly in areas expecting heavy snow accumulation, you need to be thinking about snow loading on roofs, especially if you have flat roofs, outbuildings, or older structures. 20 centimetres of wet snow can weigh 50 to 60 kilograms per square metre, and that's significant structural loading. Keep an eye on any buildings you're responsible for, and if you notice sagging or stress signs, contact appropriate professionals. Also, protect your pipes. Let taps drip slightly if you're in an unheated area to prevent freezing. Know where your stopcock is located. And if you're going to be away, consider draining your system or keeping heating on at a reduced level. For farmers and those with livestock across the affected regions, you know the drill, but it bears repeating because this is a significant event. Ensure animals have access to shelter, unfrozen water supplies, and adequate feed. Check on livestock multiple times daily because conditions can deteriorate rapidly and animals can get into difficulty quickly in heavy snow, particularly sheep in upland areas where drifting is going to be significant. The NFU Scotland has already put out guidance reminding farmers to prepare for extended periods of difficult access to remote areas and to bring vulnerable animals into closer accommodation if possible. The broader context here is important because while we get winter weather every year in Scotland and Northern England, what we're looking at over the next 48 hours is notable even by typical winter standards for these regions. The combination of heavy snowfall accumulations, strong winds creating drifting and blowing snow, prolonged duration of the event with multiple waves of precipitation, and the subsequent ice threat Tuesday night into Wednesday makes this a particularly impactful winter weather event. Historical comparison. We're looking at snow accumulations in some areas that could rival what we saw during the Beast from the East events in 2018, though the geographic scope is more limited and the temperature anomalies aren't quite as extreme. Still, for the regions directly affected, this is going to be one of the more significant winter weather events of recent years. Looking ahead beyond this immediate system, the extended forecast suggests we're entering a colder pattern that could persist through mid-February. The jet stream configuration is supporting repeated incursions of cold Arctic air, and while we're not necessarily looking at back-to-back major snow events, the potential for additional winter weather is elevated over the next 2 weeks. This means that even after this current system moves out Wednesday, temperatures are going to remain below normal across much of the UK, with overnight frost likely widespread, and the continued potential for ice to be a daily hazard in many areas. There are some early signals in the extended range models suggesting another potential winter weather system could affect parts of the UK late next week, possibly Friday into the weekend, though confidence in specifics is low at this range. What we can say is that winter isn't loosening its grip anytime soon, and anyone in Scotland and Northern England should remain prepared for additional cold and potentially snowy weather over the next couple of weeks. The Met Office continues to monitor this situation closely, and warnings may be adjusted based on how the system evolves. The potential for amber warning upgrades, particularly across the Scottish Highlands, the Central Belt, and parts of Northumberland and Cumbria, remains on the table and could be issued later today if confidence increases in the highest-end snowfall accumulations. I'll be monitoring this throughout the day and will provide updates as warranted, particularly if we do see those warning upgrades issued. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss any critical updates over the next 48 hours as this system evolves. This is exactly the kind of situation where having reliable, detailed weather information can make the difference in your safety and your ability to prepare appropriately. Stay safe out there, particularly if you're in Scotland or Northern England. Take this seriously, adjust your plans as needed, and don't take unnecessary risks over the next couple of days. I'll talk to you again soon with updates on this system and any new developments in the forecast. Take care.